Thank you very much for joining Sky News Arabia. I would like to start with you with the implementation of the ceasefire in Gaza. What's your initial take and what preparations have you made for the much needed life-saving aid?
So obviously I'm thrilled that the ceasefire is in place. We've been hoping for this for months. It could have happened months ago. It should have happened months ago, and we've lost so many lives in the interim period. The important thing for me and my team is now to get a huge surge of support in there, life-saving support. We've got to save hundreds of thousands of lives. The infrastructure has been leveled, hospitals aren't functioning, people are starving. And so in those first few days, we've got our control centres up and running. We're getting hundreds of trucks in, 600 on day one, over 900 on day two, another 900 yesterday. We've got to keep that flow, that surge of life-saving support. It's going to get harder. It's going to get harder and harder to deliver. And we're conscious that the needs are staggering on the ground.
But security is still a major concern for you?
Security is a major concern because what you need is an operating environment in which you're not being shot at by the Israelis, as we have been at times, when Hamas are not getting in the way, impeding our work, as they have been at times, when we're not being looted by armed gangs, as we have been at times, and where the community accepts what we're doing and sees it and welcomes it. You know, those are tough security conditions. The last few days have been better. You know, there is a sense that we can get through, that we are delivering, that people need this support. But we're taking it day by day. It's a very fragile situation.
Israel is doing better on that front?
Yes. Yeah, you know, I've issued statements in recent weeks. I've issued statements in recent weeks basically saying how difficult it has been. But since the ceasefire, the conditions are much, much better. There is a sense that we are all working together to get these trucks through.
For 16 months, Israel destroyed hospitals, as you mentioned, infrastructure, vital infrastructure, schools. Today, for the UN, what are the most pressing priorities?
So for me, the first thing is to save lives. And that means getting the essential food in, medical supplies and shelter. I'm worried that we've not got enough tents going in right now. That's a real priority for the next few days. Then beyond that, we've got to give people hope again. We've got to get kids back to school. I'm really worried about the number of kids who've been out of school now for months. I don't want to lose that generation. And then, of course, we've got to rebuild. We've got to give people hope. We've got to give people opportunity. And that means putting the infrastructure of Gaza back together again. Incidentally, we've got to do all that at the same time as I'm deeply concerned about what's going on in the West Bank as well. And we've got to stop that crisis there as well, stop the violence in the West Bank.
Absolutely. Are you addressing that with the Israeli? What are the efforts there?
So we're in daily communication, of course, with the Israelis, with all the parties, including the parties that did such great work to get the ceasefire, the mediators who worked so hard behind the scenes. And we're saying we need to protect civilians. I mean, I've been saying that from day one, even before I was in this job. We need to protect all civilians. We need to get the hostages home, but also protect the Palestinian civilians too.
For you to do all this, you need funding. How are you planning? How are you planning to secure those funds? And how much money do you need?
We desperately need that finance. Our supplies, our aid will run out, you know, before we've met the needs that need to be met, and then people will die as a result. So we've issued an appeal for between 3 and 4 billion for the immediate humanitarian needs, the life-saving needs that my team coordinate.
4 billion.
But beyond that, there's a need for tens of billions to actually rebuild Gaza.
Let me move to Syria. You recently visited Damascus, Idlib, Homs and Aleppo. And you did a briefing and you have identified 3 challenges. I want to understand, or if you can go through those 3 challenges first and tell us your priority today in Syria.
So 3 very important things for me. One is to get that life-saving support through and to work with the authorities in Damascus to deliver it where it's needed most. So I need, and I agreed with al-Shara, the leader of the caretaker government, that we need those crossings open so we can get that aid through from every direction to where it's needed. I need to get a really good needs assessment to see exactly what's required to help the Syrian people. You know, they've endured such terrible times for years now, and we've got to be giving them security, justice, opportunity. There'll be a big job to rebuild Syria as well. So many of those towns I drove through are just rubble now, as is Gaza, of course.
Syria was missing from the map for years and years.
It was. It was. And now there's this moment of hope and of opportunity, but we've got to move in fast.
What's your initial impression after meeting Al-Shara?
So I thought this is someone that we can work with. We had a very constructive conversation. We didn't agree on everything, but we do share this objective of getting aid in fast and getting support to the Syrian
Did you get any
people.
assurances from the authorities there?
So I did. I got assurances on using all of the border crossing points. I asked him not to put new restrictions on aid workers, to make sure they've got the visas, the permissions they need to go anywhere, to get the job done.
So you established clear process or procedures to do
we
that?
had clear agreements on those areas, and I was very encouraged by that meeting. I also pressed him on the need for an inclusive political process, and really importantly, and we came back to this 3 times, the role of women and girls in Syria's future. They have suffered more than any during this long winter.
Did you address that with Al-Shara?
I did. We came back to it several times, and I insisted this is not just something that I'm saying as a talking point. This is the role of women and girls in the future of Syria is one of the ways we'll determine the potential of this future partnership as an international community. And it's vital for us that women and girls feel safe in Syria, but also that not just that they are part of the leadership of this new Syria that we hope to see.
Did he give you a clear roadmap?
He gave me very good assurances on this point and on the way that we can work together in partnership. I think now we said to each other, I said to him, you judge me on what I deliver on the aid side, on the humanitarian support, and we'll judge you on what you can deliver, on letting the aid get where it's needed, on an inclusive government, and on ensuring the future of women and girls in Syria. So I think we should judge people on the actions, not just the words, and that's the approach I'll take.
Yeah, of course, there were so many promises, and definitely everyone is waiting to see what will be delivered on the ground. One last question, funding. Funding in Syria is very important because the country is destroyed and you have so many misplaced people. So where are you going to secure this funding from?
Well, that's where we go out to the donors, regional donors, international donors. The reality is, on this as elsewhere, the funding situation is really dire. I'm trying to raise $47 billion to support 190 million people across the world who are in dire need. And we're doing that in a time when many governments, and of course we have a new government in Washington, are cutting their aid budgets. So what I'm saying to them is, you don't build a golden age by retreating from the world. We need that international support for what we're doing.
How much money do you need for the immediate aid needed in Syria?
We need billions, and we'll be putting out more specific numbers on exactly what we need to meet the humanitarian demands, which are high and which haven't gone away. Those demands didn't end just because there was a new government in place. Huge amounts of needs around food, shelter, water, medicine, and we need that collective international effort to deliver.
Thank you very much, Tom, and all the best.
Thank you very much.